So, for the next session we have two people on stage at the same time, make things more interesting, more dynamic. So we have Paolo Sharma, who is the COO of Besedo, who, as you know, is our diamond sponsor. And we have Jelena Moncilli, who is an anti-fraud specialist for anibis in Switzerland. So anibis is one of our horizontal platforms in Switzerland, and the two of them are going to talk through automation. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So after blockchain and search, now we're going to talk about how anibis use AI for content moderation. I'm Paolo Sharma, like you said, but not COO, I'm the CCO, but I would like to be CMDS, the thing that you mentioned next picture. This is my first ICMA, so I'm obviously super excited to be here. What I'm more excited about is the fact that we have customers standing with us on the stage, sharing their success story of how they use our technology to become much better at content moderation, and that the result of that is also super important for you all to hear today. As for Besedo, I hope you all know about us already. We've been in this business for 16 years, doing content moderation and providing a better user experience, generating more user trust for the classified market. So over to you, Jelena, and I'll join you later. Yes? Thank you, Peru. Hi, everybody. I'm a software engineer working since 8 years by Anibis. Anibis.ch was grounded in 2004. It was a small school project at the beginning, and now we have 11 million visits each month, about 1 million listings in 3,000 categories. Don't forget that Switzerland is a small country with a population of only 8.5 million people. 4 years ago, our listings volume reached critical points. Of course, it was a reason to celebrate, but our user safety started to suffer. At the beginning, we were able to check every listing manually. We reached a point where it was not possible anymore. We had to do choice. Which category do we want to check? Of course, scammers found out these security holes and exploited it. For example, the number of listings in the category baby clothes increased, but not for jackets or trousers, but for loan offers. It results a bad user experience and a lot of bad content reported. Our users weren't used to this kind of problem of Anibis, because it was so a small platform, everything was secure, and it started to be too big, and they had a little bit fear of what happened. We had to find a solution really quick to keep our user. We tried to figure an in-house solution. The problem is that it takes a lot of time. You have to think about all the technology aspects, but even to the interface for our quality agent. We didn't have the experience doing such a tool. We already were following the blog of Besedo, and when they published the information about the release of the new tool called Implio, we decided to contact them. The journey took over 2 years and was split in two steps. To get started, we sent a dataset sample of 20,000 listings to Besedo, and they started the analysis. The goal was to assess which level of automation could be reached based on the tool Implio. After the analysis, Besedo helped us fine-tune Implio to fit our needs. Implio contains some preset rules helping finding pharmaceutical goods, counterfeit, for example, but the management of self-made rule is really easy. I think my grandmother is able to create a rule in Implio. But Besedo is always here to help us. For example, they help us to define the criteria we need in the category cars to find if a listing is good or not, like the brand, the model, the manufacturing years. We repeat this brainstorming for all our categories. We don't have any limits of parameters. The complete integration took less than 2 months. Because we used Impio to moderate all our listings over a year, we were able to move to the second steps. 100% tailor-made machine learning model based on our needs. Becedo cleaned up the data they already collected over the year we used Impio, and they trained the server during 2 months. We checked the decision taken by the server, and at the end, the integration on our side took less than 1 week, including testing. Now we get the part you've all been waiting for. What do we achieve moving to automation moderation? You know the title of the presentation, so you know this number, 94% of automation. It means that most of our content go live instantaneously. Our accuracy didn't suffer. And much more important, our safety is much better than before. At the beginning, when we reached this critical point of number of listings, we just were able to check 10% of listings. Using Impio and the moderation tool from Becedo, we are able to check the complete volumes of our listings. With the automation, we catch 85% of fraudulent listings before the go live. It was not the case before. We were only about 15%. Prior to implement Impio and the machine learning furnished from Becedo, we relied a lot of customer reports. After the go live, from the new moderation process, it led to a better user experience, illustrated by a decrease of 60% of reported listings. Finally, it has given us a much more transparent moderation process. For example, we can track every single moderation decision, and it helps us to increase the quality of manual moderation. That's the number again. And I think the results speak for themselves. It's a little bit like I'm doing the marketing part of the presentation, but it's not the case. We really enjoyed working with Becedo and the team of Impio. The team is really easy to work with. Our quality agents are happy to use the tool. When we have new people starting to work, it took just some hours to understand how it works. And the documentation provided is really clear. Impio is flexible, always open when we have suggestions and we need new features. We are able to change the priority of our rules, so it's really easy to use. And the combination between Impio and the machine learning solution meets our needs in a way that would have been hard and resource-intensive to match. So we can now concentrate us on our core business, and Becedo take care of our moderation.
Thank you so much, Jelena. That was impressive indeed, and I'm so glad that it has worked for you so well. So one of the things that at Becedo we constantly talk about is that these 3 pillars, user trust, user experience, and content quality, they're absolutely critical for your marketplace success. And we do see very concrete numbers of how these very numbers increased or improved for Anibis. So it's really, again, I would like to thank you for helping us build this case study together with you. So what is it that makes us pull this off in such a short amount of time? There's clearly a lot of background work that goes into it, and I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into that. So first of all, It's the experience and expertise. And of course, we've been here for 16 years. We have been manually moderating for a lot of years. We have specialists that have this knowledge inside their mind, which is really hard to write on a piece of paper. But we've really taken all of that expertise and built that into our tool. Also, data scientists and moderators working together to really try and figure out how can we make a stack for machine learning that is very, how can we make a stack for machine learning that is tailor-made for handling content moderation, which is the AI developed for content moderation. The other thing that's pretty interesting is most people talk about accuracy. I'm going to give you a small example. So let's say you have 100 content pieces, and the AI, and in that 100 content pieces you have 90 good listings and let's say 10 that should be rejected. Let's say you use AI to moderate these 100 items, and the AI says all are good, all are okay. That means your accuracy is still 90% because you could 90 out of 100 times you did the right decision. And that's not enough because you couldn't catch a single bad item, which means your recall was actually 0%. That's the term that we use in AI. And those are the numbers that we track. So we not only track accuracy, but we also talk about recall, precisions, and those kind of things. Then, of course, the other thing is taking multiple signals. I mean, there is a lot happening on a classifier that there's the content, there is context to it, there's a user behavior in the past, there's an IP address, there are contact details and whatnot. So you're taking all of those input decisions into one concrete single decision. We don't give you a score that says, could be 85% fraud, but whatever. It's not going to be like that. It's either a yes, either a no, or a maybe that we give you. And if it's a maybe, obviously we want you to manually look at it. Flexibility, I would say that is the number one USP, I would say. People talk about ML and they think it's rigid, it's static. How do you training a good ML is a constant investment of time, and when you don't do it, it's pretty rigid. Rules are changing, the world is changing, new products are being launched. How do you quickly adapt to that without sacrificing on your automation? Well, we've enabled that through the Implio tool that Jelena was talking about. So it allows you to say a very, very tailor-made solution. You can say, I want this rule to kick in even before, I don't want the machine learning to look at it at all, because I believe that if it's a whitelisted user, his listing should go through no matter what. So you can really tailor-make all of this. We've provided a very flexible framework to implement this. And constant quality control, which means every quarter we're going to look at this and work with you in sort of assessing the quality, tweaking the model to make sure you get the best results. We're always pushing the performance. Next slide. Was just questions? No, actually, no. That was the slide that I wanted to spend a bit of time on. So one of the things that we at Becerro have been thinking about is how do we package all of this expertise and give it to you in a way that will make sense. Also looking at one of the major trends that AIM Group has recently done a lot of research around it. We're seeing it all around. You are in the midst of that transition. Classifieds are becoming more and more marketplaces. You're adding transactions, payments, delivery systems, ancillary service to make add more value to the users. And while you're on that journey, I would like to believe that moderation is not something that you want to hold on to as a core. And we want to come in as an expert to say, offload that content moderation to us, 100% of that, while we take care of it in a way that is super transparent and predictable in terms of what you can get out of. So I was running this pricing with a customer day before yesterday, and he said, really, is that the only number that you have? Like, there's no other, 15 lines of pricing? It's not going to be that complicated at all. It's one price point for all your listings. It's going to give you 95% accuracy, 30 minutes time to decide on an average, and a 24/7 moderation. We call it the Zero Total, and this is something that we've launched, and we would love to talk to you and how that can benefit your site. But as Jelena said, focus on your core, let's take care of the rest. That's the main point that we want to bring about. Any questions for us? I guess we...
Yeah, of course. Any questions for Becerro or for Anibis? One question I was thinking of is, tell us a little bit about the ones which get away. So, what are the types of fraud or fake listings which are particularly hard to detect? I'm not working for any of them, by the way, but I mean just so we can understand more what the ML can do very well and the things which it still needs to get better at.
Yeah, maybe we had the experience with some listings. Switzerland is at most 3 languages, and we have a lot of user publishing in the 3 different parts of the Switzerland. Is it multi-posting or not? It's not so easy to define. In some cases, we can accept, for example, the job listings, because we can search the same position in different parts of Switzerland, and for other users, it's not okay because it's really duplicated listings. And if you use machine learning just based on the decision, it's a little bit the limit of this system, because sometimes you have to say yes, we accept, and the same listings will be rejected a little bit later. And to explain to the machine why it was once okay and once not is a little bit tricky.
So typically they didn't do it for the jobs category, they had to take that out of automation, but then they use filters, like I was talking about the flexible framework, so to set up rules instead of machine learning. And this is a great example of where machine learning was not able to make the right decision, because it's very fuzzy in that sense. How will you accept something?
What about the example simply of fake ad, which is all the listing details are there, but the person who's posting the listing doesn't own the property? How, for example, do you take care of situations like that?
I would say there are some user behavior things that would be seen, and we have experts in the room. Can help me if you want. But there is things that we can catch in the body copy of how the listing has been posted, what phrases have been used to detect this is a likely scammer who probably doesn't have the property. So there are those fine elements that over the year, if anyone has a good data set in that sense, or has manually done a good job in moderating, like Anibis did in this case within Implio, the model is able to catch those finer things. It thinks better than our brains. There's neural networks.
Great. Any questions on the floor? Yes, one second.
Thank you very much. I just want to check, do you have any image moderation as well, or do you have any plan to moderate image in the future?
Yes, so we do moderate images. For most of the companies that we've been talking to, images has been more of like a thing that is together with the content important, but not that you want to reject a piece because just of the image. So far we have not encountered a case like that, even though we can do it. And the best use case for image moderation is when we're able to build a custom model, which we are able to. So what the challenge that we have now is, when talking to companies, is there doesn't exist a very good data set that is fully moderated just for images. And in those cases that there exists, we're able to build a custom model just for images. Yeah.
One last question, right at the back.
So my question is almost in line with the image one, except, so you're looking at the listings. Will you also maybe in future do something with the messages or the leads that goes through to those listings as well? Would you moderate those as well?
Are you meaning the one-to-one messages between users and
yes,
buyers and sellers? We haven't started working with any customer yet, but we've seen already. We've done some tests with one-to-one messages. Oh. I actually had no idea that you were live with that.
Yeah, we are live since a month doing such moderation. Yeah, so at the beginning we would implement a machine learning solution for moderation of the messages. The problem is that we hadn't the data set. We hadn't any decision. So we had to start, make this decision. You have 2 options. You do it manually, take every message and do it like that, or use Implio, make rules, help to find scammers, and take the decision. And it will be the same journeys and done for listings. And we are just learning by doing, and then we will be able to use a machine learning model.
So machine learning doesn't exist today because you're creating the data set, yes. But then I was was right that machine learning is not live or not testing yet in that sense.
I mean,
But it's
that's an example.
absolutely
Yeah.
something that we're looking at. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Round of applause, please, to Pavel. Great. So our second slot is from Hasselite's operator.